If you've been wanting to offer your beautiful children's book as an audiobook but don't really know where to begin, then this video is for you. We'll look at why we as children's authors may want to consider the audiobook format, an easy way to begin our audiobook journey, the content, audio, and cover requirements we'll want to make sure to meet. We'll look at the royalties and the pricing, and in the very end, we'll look at an alternative to regular audiobooks that is absolutely free and easy to create. So let's jump right in. Hi there, I'm Eevi, an award-winning children's author and ghostwriter over on eevijones.com and the creator of Children's Book University. I create videos specifically for children's authors, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of my videos. These past few months, I have noticed that whenever I search for a book on Amazon, the default format that shows up first is now set to audiobooks. This is a very recent change. Amazon is always tweaking and changing and testing things, and every time they change something, they do so intentionally, and so we should pay attention. Their most recent tweak indicates that they are currently trying to push the audio format of books. They are trying to push their Audible membership. From a monetary standpoint, that makes sense, right? We can consume so much more by just listening, because whenever we want to read a book, we would have to set aside some actual time blocks to do so. Listening to an audiobook, on the other hand, can be done while we are doing something else, whether that's driving, cooking, cleaning, or doing laundry. And the more we consume, the more we buy. In Germany, we've had a long-standing tradition listening to stories on tape, CD, and now via streaming. We have so many audio series, both for kids and for grown-ups. I grew up with them, and they still exist to this day, stronger than ever. And I love seeing this trend specifically for kids slowly making its way to the US, noticeably through the rise of the Tonybox, which originated in Germany, an audio player for kids that plays stories when a collectible figurine called a Tony is placed on top. Anything audio, including audiobooks, continues to grow in popularity, especially right now. And so this format represents a key earnings opportunity for us authors, especially since currently there are only about 5% of all books on Amazon released as audiobooks. Another sign of this push is that Amazon now provides us authors with an audio creation feature directly within the KDP dashboard that lets authors produce an audiobook version of their ebook with computer-generated narration. Now, while it is already available to all authors within the US, it currently doesn't seem like a viable option for us children's authors. And that's because the automated narration is, as of right now, created directly from the text in the ebook. And because our text is most likely directly integrated into our illustrations, that automated narration doesn't work for picture books. Which leaves us children's authors with the ACX route. ACX stands for Audiobook Creation Exchange and is Audible's platform for creating and distributing audiobooks. Just like KDP, ACX is owned by Amazon, and the audiobooks made on ACX are sold on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes. So while Audible is the primary online store for buying and listening to audiobooks, ACX is the production and distribution service for independent authors and publishers to get their books onto Audible and other platforms. Using ACX, there are two options to go about creating our audiobook. Option number one is to make use of ACX's narrators we can hire to record and produce our audiobook. Here our selected ACX narrator is responsible for narrating and producing our audiobook so it is compliant with ACX's requirements and retail ready so we can upload it right away. There are built-in checkpoints along the way where we can give additional feedback and make adjustments like specific pronunciations, for example. And once we are happy with the finished product, it's submitted for approval just like our paperbacks and ebooks are. When it comes to the payment of the narrator, we can choose to make it a one-time payment to our narrator based on a rate we negotiated for the length of the finished audiobook, which then is to be paid once it's completed. Or we can pay nothing up front and split our royalties 50-50 with our narrator for the life of our audiobook. Or we can choose a hybrid model and split royalties with an added payment for the finished audiobook to help attract narrators who might be hesitant to accept a project with no guaranteed payment. Here I would recommend the same payment structure I also recommend we use for our illustrators, and that's to simply pay up front. That way, narrators will be more likely to accept our offer and we don't have to worry about future royalty payments. ACX narrator rates for children's books vary greatly because they very much depend on a narrator's experience. While most list rates per finished hour or PFH, shorter books like our children's books usually require a flat rate instead. For books under 10 minutes or 1,000 words, to make it worthwhile for the narrator, professional rates often start at the industry minimum of around $250. But again, this very much depends on the experience level of the narrator. So hiring one of ACX's narrators is option 1. Option number 2 is to provide our own recording. Now, to ensure customers get a great listening experience, all ACX audiobooks must be consistent in overall sound and formatting. So the quality of the recording is really important. So while we can provide our own recording, unless we have a professional recording studio at home, I'd recommend hiring a professional narrator. Now you may be wondering, if I'm still hiring an external narrator, why not just use narrators from ACX? When I worked as a motion graphics designer, I worked with lots and lots of voice talents. And for book narrations, I have worked with voice actors like Melissa del Toro. So if we already have someone very specific in mind, then we may prefer those over ACX's narrators. But no matter what options we end up choosing, what we will want to make sure of is that our created files follow ACX's submission requirements. The first set of requirements are content related. Content requirement number 1 is to include opening and closing credits. Opening credit announcements must state the audiobook's title, the author, and the narrator. These credits must be consistent with the text displayed within the title's metadata and cover art. Content requirement number 2 is to include closing credits to indicate finality. The best practice to inform the listeners that they have reached the end of the audiobook is to state something like, "You have been listening to," and then restate the audiobook's title, the author, and the narrator, and conclude by stating "the end." Content requirement number 3 is to include a retail sample of 5 minutes or less. For us children's authors, it would probably be less because our story is very short to begin with. This sample must come from the actual audiobook. It can't be a summary or a book description. When selecting a sample, it's best to choose the first couple of minutes of our audiobook, mainly because this would allow for a seamless listening experience into the rest of the story once it has been purchased. Content requirement number 4 is to ensure that each file should be no longer than 120 minutes. But again, since our books are often much shorter, this isn't really relevant to us. Do keep this in mind, however, if your book is a chapter book, for example. Here it's important to know that each chapter should be submitted as its own file. That way listeners can later on easily navigate back and forth between the different chapters. My ninja tip here is to make sure that even if we have a story without chapters, our opening and closing credits should be separate files. Once recorded, each file must be labeled in such a way that it indicates what part of the book it is. So for example, chapter 1, chapter 2, opening or closing. That way they are easy to upload and it's easier to stay organized. And when labeling our files, we want to make sure to avoid special characters and only use alphabetical and numeric characters for our file name. And content requirement number 5 is our audiobook's own ISBN. Technically, just like with ebooks, an ISBN isn't a must if we are planning to only offer our audiobook within Amazon's ecosystem. But if we want to keep our options open and we are planning to offer it to non-Amazon retailers and libraries down the road, then we will want to use our own ISBN, not the one offered via ACX. If you have any questions on how and where to get your ISBN, I've shared the link to my separate video all about ISBNs in the description below. The second set of requirements are audio related. Audio requirement number 1 is to make sure our submitted audiobook is narrated by a human, unless otherwise authorized. Unauthorized use of text-to-speech, AI, or automated recording in ACX titles is currently prohibited. As I mentioned earlier, Amazon is currently testing computer-generated narration directly in KDP's dashboard. But at the making of this video, that internal way is currently the only way to use AI-generated audio content. Audio requirement number 2 is that our audio sound must be consistent in sound and formatting. This includes audio levels, tone, noise levels, spacing, and pronunciation. So we will want to make sure there are no extra sounds like microphone pops, mouse clicks, excessive mouth noise, and outtakes. That's why it's important to record it professionally. Audio requirement number 3 is that all our files must be in the same channel format. So either all are in mono or all are in stereo. Mixed formats will not be accepted. Audio requirement number 4 is that each file needs to fall between the specific volume range of -23 decibel and -18 decibel RMS for consistent volume. And so that's why using a professional narrator is important, because they will already know these requirements and will make sure they prepare our files following these requirements. Now, one way to enhance the audio experience for our listeners is to add music and sound effects. Here, we do want to make sure that these don't obscure the narration. And if we choose to add music to our audiobook, we have to ensure it's an original composition that we have the right to use. And we must also have the rights to any sound effects we want to add. And the third set of requirements are cover related. Cover requirement number 1 is to make sure that our cover is a square image with a minimum of 2400 by 2400 pixels, preferably at 300 dpi. We can submit that as a JPEG, a PNG, or a TIFF file that must be under 8 megabytes. And cover requirement number 2 is to make sure that our cover features the book title and the author name, and that our metadata matches our cover exactly. Now, as already mentioned, ACX distributes our audiobook to audible.com, Amazon, and iTunes, the 3 leading retailers of audiobooks, as well as their global retail partners. Just like with KDP, our royalty depends on the distribution and production options we select. If we agree to this exclusive contract, then that's a 90-day minimum contract, meaning we can change our mind again after 90 days. Very similar to enrolling our ebook into KDP Select. If we choose to produce our audiobook using the royalty share option, where we share our royalty for life of the audiobook with the narrator, we will earn 20%. And if we choose to distribute our audiobook non-exclusively, meaning beyond Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, we will earn 25% and retain the right to distribute our recording at our discretion. That's very similar to KDP's expanded distribution. When it comes to the pricing of our audiobook, I'd encourage you to follow the same recommendations I give when it comes to the pricing of our other formats. And that's to see what other similar audiobooks are selling for. That way we ensure we price our book competitively. Now, what if for now you don't really want to invest in yet another format, in a narrator or another ISBN, but you do like the idea of offering your book as an audiobook? Then we can always create our very own audio file or our very own read-along video where we record ourselves reading our book, like I have shared in my separate How to Create a Read-Along video. I've made sure to share the link in the description below. While we wouldn't be able to upload these files onto ACX for an official audiobook, we could add these read aloud videos or audio files to our website. And we could then prominently mention that in our A+ content on our book's Amazon sales page, where we could offer it as a bonus that comes with the purchase of the paperback or ebook, essentially making the access to our read aloud an incentive to purchase our printed version. If you'd like to learn more about how to effectively use A+ content, I made sure to share it with the other links in the description below. And if you want ready-to-use templates that you can customize, I went ahead and added these templates to the A+ content section within my book mockup templates. If you already have access to that membership area, I've added them for you as well. There are so many options when it comes to the creation of our audiobook, so it can get a bit overwhelming at times. Hopefully this video provides you with a great entry point to begin dipping your toes into the world's audiobooks. Making our beautiful children's book available in audio format is a great addition to our marketing toolkit. If you're looking for many more, I've shared the link to my book, How to Market and Promote a Children's Book, in the description below. If you are one of the 5% and are already offering your beautiful children's book as an audiobook, feel free to share it in the comments below. I'd love to see it. Or if you are planning to do so, let me know too. I so hope you found this helpful. If you haven't yet, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. It really encourages me to keep making free videos for you just like this one. Here's to finding yet another way to reach our little readers. Bye!